Hey guys, welcome to the Dirt on Gardening podcast. I like to get on here about a minute early just to sort of make sure everything's right. Urban Gardening with Gray and the Chocolate Botanist should be on here shortly. Tonight's episode, we're going to talk about houseplants. So houseplants going to be the main topic. What's up, Urban Food Forest? We will eventually be able to have guests, and we will have you up here when we do have guests. So thank you for joining us. You know, I heard someone say you're not supposed to say Happy Memorial Day, like it's supposed to be a thing apparently, because you're supposed to be remembering things, but you're not supposed to say Happy Memorial Day. So I don't know. Some people say you can't say that. Some people say you can. I don't know what the etiquette is on that, so I will just leave it alone completely because I don't get caught up with semantics about things that are silly. But we have a great show for that. We are going to be talking about houseplants, and most everybody has houseplants. Except me. I don't have houseplants. I have office plants, but I have zero plants inside my home, actually. My wife is not a big houseplant person, so I think that's probably why we don't have any houseplants. But I have a ton of plants outside, and our other partners here, Urban Gardening with Gray and the Chocolate Botanist, they have tons of houseplants, so they are going to be the great. All right, there we go. Botanist is here. Let's see. Did I invite him? I think I invited him. What's up? How you doing today, Gray?
I'm doing well. How are you, brother?
Good, good. So as a veteran, what is the correct thing for someone to say to someone on Memorial Day?
Um, I would say just happy Memorial Day because Memorial Day, I think we kind of get it confused with Veterans Day. Memorial Day is to honor those who have passed away, given the ultimate sacrifice for their country. I'm still alive, so I'm still kicking. Barbecue some hot dogs and some
Right.
burgers and maybe have an adult beverage or two or some lemonade, whatever you want to drink, and enjoy your day. That's what I say. Veterans Day
Okay.
is, thank you for your service, appreciate that, things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a post of a very aggressive young man wearing a particular hat saying that he wanted to inflict violence upon people who say Happy Memorial Day because apparently you're not supposed to say that. Yeah, anyways.
That's interesting.
Um,
I guess everybody has their own outlook in life.
yeah, I
I
guess
was at
so.
a barbecue
I
today.
guess so. Let me see. Let me get Child Botanist up here. Derek is here.
Oh, awesome. There
What's
he
going
is.
on, Derek?
Hey everybody, if I'm gonna be one thing, it's gonna be late. I was like, Lord, it was just 7:50, and now it's somehow 8:01. Like, what is going on? Where did the time go? Hey everybody.
Right
Well,
on. Hi, good
you're
to
a
see you,
busy
brother.
guy. You're a busy guy.
I
I'm
am.
literally,
I'm
if you hear
also.
music in the background, there's actually a house party going on here at my home right
Lord, you
Whoa.
skipped out on a house party to be up here with us today.
See, that's dedication right
It's
there.
okay. It's okay. But you might hear a little background noise just back here.
Lord,
Yeah,
and I hope they play something good.
yeah. I
I
actually
think they're
just
doing
got back from
karaoke now, so I'm hearing "I'm Every Woman." I think someone's doing karaoke out there right now or something. I don't know.
See,
Oh,
this
that
is
must.
how much we love you guys. Andre is missing out on some Okie right now to be here with us.
Exactly. He could be up there belting that Whitney Houston song. And instead, he's up here with us.
And
Yes.
see, I got that. I got that. But yeah. So tonight we want to talk about. Well, first of all, let me talk about our sponsors, right? Because we actually have some sponsors for the show, and I appreciate our sponsors. One of our sponsors is Sonia's Bug Spray. And when I tell you this is something I use all the time exclusively because it doesn't feel like bug spray. It feels like lotion. Like literally you put this on, you smell good, you feel good, and you don't need to feel like you need to take a shower after using this stuff. So it's really good. Also, my own sweet and spicy pepper sauce is a sponsor of the show. It's all natural, made with 9 different fruits and vegetables, and I guarantee you'll love it. I dare you not to love it. It's also available on Amazon right now and Andrethefarmer.com. And I believe we have another sponsor as well.
This is our retain. Retain is to clean your pruners, clean your tools. It will actually help maintain them so they don't end up rusting out on you. And then plus stops the spread of any plant-borne diseases, pathogens, and so forth. So after every time you go and you prune whether you're pruning your tomatoes, whether you're pruning your ornamentals, make sure you have a bottle of Retain to retain those tools.
Yep. And I go through shears a lot. Like I feel like my shears end up getting rough, and like I can rehabilitate them, and oil them up and scrub them with a wire brush and stuff like that. But it's so much work when you can just sort of maintain them as you go, which is the smart thing to do. Which
Definitely.
yeah,
We love a smart thing to do. We love a smart thing to do. And for those of you who are wondering, how can you be a sponsor with us? You contact one of us and we will talk about it, because look, you can be a part of this momentous thing, right? And get in on the dirt level. Just made that up. Just came to me right there.
I love it. I love it. On the dirt level. You
on the
are the
dirt
man.
level. You can be a sponsor for as little as $10 a month. You can be a sponsor on this show. So yeah, it's like this is the dirt level. There's not going to be a lower level than this. As we grow, sponsorship will be a more exclusive thing, but we'll always keep loyal to our sponsors that's helped us get started in the beginning. So with that being said, what we're talking about houseplants today, right guys?
Oh yeah.
Houseplant. Yes. Your
How many
ornamentals.
houseplants do each of you guys have?
Now, you know that's a hard question.
If you had to ballpark it, if you had to like bet and set the over under, what are you setting the over under at?
I'm in the vicinity of anywhere between, on a given day, between about maybe 175 to maybe 200. Because I literally have plants in every room of my house, excluding my closets.
So
Yeah.
So what's the over under? Is it you just set over at 150? What are you gonna set the over under at?
I don't know because I don't know that terminology.
Oh, yeah.
I am a plant guy,
So
not a sports
you're
guy.
not a betting
All right,
man.
let me
See, that's why you
let
don't
me
know.
explain it to you, right?
You
So
don't bet.
if Vegas was gonna set a line on how many plants you had and people could bet over or under that number, and they wanted enough people to bet on either side of the number, what number would they give? Would they give like 200? And would they sort of get even money on both sides of that bet? Like, would half the people bet under and half bet over? Like, if you had to make a bet, what would be the number that you'd feel sort of comfortable with making as the middle, like the number you'd bet over or under?
See, this shows y'all I don't like gambling because I feel like I'm giving money away. The numbers are not in my favor. Like,
All
I
right.
worked for this
If
money. I
I
would say
said you had
150.
200 plants, if I said you had 200 plants, would you bet on the over or the under?
I,
Would you bet that you have less or bet that you have
I
more?
would say less. So I'd say 150 would be my, I guess, my over under, if I'm understanding correctly.
All right, we set it at 150. All right, great. I mean, Derek, what is your over under for plant house?
Oh, I love this because I love to win, and that's why I don't gamble, because I get angry because I'm a sore loser. I will say approximately 200 plus or minus 50, and that's
Wait,
the low
so
ball
you would set the
number.
over under at 200?
No, I would say I have approximately 200 plants plus or minus 50.
So you'd have to set the over under at 200 if you have the same amount over as possibly under.
Yeah, well, see, I say the plus or minus 50 because I'm various states of death, various states of living,
So the
various states
number's
of
always
propagation.
changing.
Yeah, propagation. I'm propping a bunch of plants.
Propagation.
So, things live, things die,
Mhm.
things, multiply. It's just a part of life. What about you?
I would set my over under at a half, and I would bet hard on the under.
See, I know I need to take you to the blackjack tables next time I go to Vegas.
Yeah, I don't have any houseplants in the house at all.
Ooh,
I shouldn't
that
say
would be
none.
nice.
No, I shouldn't say none. No. Let's say the over under at 4, because there are pothos in my son's fish tank.
Okay.
I put those in there to try to see if we can grow in the fish tank. So those are there. And there may be a pothos or two in a bathroom or the laundry room. I think my wife might have put one in there. So there may be three. There may be three. But hold on. I just got to pause this 1 second because one of my favorite questions came up on the screen here. Someone
Ooh, I
asked,
hope it's the same one I wanted to answer.
why is it so hard to get seeded watermelons? The person asked.
I'm glad you came to that one. Please talk about it.
And I'm going to tell you why. Because people don't want them. That's why. If everybody wanted seeded watermelons, there would be no unseeded watermelons at all. But people buy unseeded watermelons because that's what they want.
And
Supply and demand.
and the second part is like people are harvesting early. So some of your seeded varieties just won't have seed. But I know there's a lot of people, and this is referencing the Gina up here, who will be like, I only eat the seeded watermelons because the seedless ones are not real. And I want you to know, just like there are seedless people, people who cannot have kids, and this is why we have adoption agencies and everything like that, is the same way there could be seedless people. And for those who say, I don't eat seedless fruit, then you don't eat bananas. Because every banana you get in this United States is seedless. And if you happen to smoke a certain herbaceous perennial plant that is legal in parts of this United States, you're never asking if that has seeds or not. There we go. I'm off my soapbox.
And I grow 12 different types of bananas, and every one of them is seedless. So, just so you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. There are actually people who don't know watermelons have seeds. Wow. That's interesting. Interesting. But back to houseplants. How does someone start getting to houseplants? What's your recommendation for someone who wants to start having a houseplant collection?
Well, you mentioned a really good one. This is, I like to call the gateway plant. Okay. So the pothos, we've seen them all over the place. I have a buddy. He's like, I only grow, stuff in the garden, stuff that I can eat, stuff that I can use. Ornamental plants or house plants don't mean anything to me because I can't use them. But, just putting one of these little gateway plants, one of these pothos. Look, this is a gateway drug. Look, pothos. Look, see, there we go right here. And now I'm about to show you the grand mal, the big boy. We're about to turn the camera around here. This is a gateway because when you take that one little pothos, look at her, she'll start to journey, she'll start to travel, and she'll create that jungle persona that you're looking for. So if you are looking to get into houseplants and you say, hey, I would love to have that jungle vibe, the jungle feel, pothos is the easiest one to do it. And then the beautiful thing about it, it's so forgiving to beginners. If you're a beginner grower and you say, oh, sometimes I forget to water, or sometimes I don't have the light right, guess what? A pothos, she'll forgive you every time. You go give her a little bit of water, she's like, oh, thank you, appreciate you. So pothos is one of the most forgiving plants there is. I mean, and they're dang near indestructible. You can, like Andre said, you can throw one in an aquarium. Guess what? Those roots hit that water, they will grow. They can grow just about anywhere except maybe absolute darkness. So I would say that's your gateway plant right there. And then once you get that itch, Derek, once they get that itch, what happens when they get that itch?
They start doing like most people who itch real bad do. Now you're buying plants. You're doing anything for plants. I'm not going to tell you all the things I've done for plants. Just know, if you're thinking it's explicit, it probably is. But when it comes to getting all these, but when it comes to getting these plants and purchasing them, it's like a Pringle. Once you pop, you just can't stop. You keep going, you keep growing, and you keep going forward.
So was pothos the first plants that you guys bought? Like the first house plants you guys had?
The first I actually had was a African lucky bamboo, and it was one that was given to me because this is well after I gotten into gardening and everything, but it was given to me like a company I was at in like a little coffee mug. I was like, this is cool, this is cute. I didn't really know about keeping ornamentals like talking about, but it survived and thrived off of that neglect. Water it every once in a while, set it and forget it. I think I had that thing sitting on a corner in a desk somewhere. And I just kept seeing it grow. And then I was like, wait, you know what? Let me see if I can actually care for this thing a little bit. And then that's when I started branching out. And the pothos that I showed you guys over in the corner, that actually is my mother's, and it's 3 years old. She gave that to me when she used to live out here in Dallas with me. She moved on. She moved back to Baton Rouge. And so I've been keeping it a lot, and it has just grown literally all over the room.
Wow. All right. What's your first plant? What's your first love there?
Oh, my God. As a person that's been growing plants for a long periodical time, I cannot remember my first house plant. I'm sure it might have been a pothos or a purple inch plant, Tradescandia, purple John, as we call them. A lot of different names other than the other name, Wandering John, Wandering Dude. We don't say the other name.
Yeah.
But it was probably one of them. But I've had so many because remember, like I went to school for this, so I would get a bunch of stuff for free. Like I would be able to bring home 40 orchids and be like, boom, I got 40 orchids now. And it's 40 full-grown orchids that now my ex is like, why are these in the house? That one,
Yeah.
yes. Yes. I think
Now,
I got that same shelf almost. Let me look. I almost looked at that and said,
probably
oh, actually
is.
it's different. I was about to say, let me find out which twins. But yeah, I've literally grown and killed so many
Right.
houseplants. I cannot remember the originals.
So, what is the biggest mistake that people are making with houseplants? I get a lot of people that text me and say, "Oh, my this died, my blah blah's yellow, my blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Listen, I don't grow houseplants. I don't know how to help you. You know, give it water, give it light, give it nutrients. It should survive."
I
But
would
what is the biggest mistake people
I
make?
would say the biggest mistake is we overwater. I call it loving too much. That's the easiest thing. So a lot of times you get a lot of these folks that'll make content and they'll say, "Oh, top five, plants to grow for beginners." And like one of the ones they'll list that's like top five. Sometimes they'll list like aloe. And aloe, no, because you barely want to water thing. You water that thing like maybe once every 3 weeks or so, or maybe a month or so. And so I think overwatering cause so many plants to meet their maker, so to speak, because we. I like to practice. Lao Tzu says the Wu way. The Lao Tzu says do without doing. So kind of back up off it a little bit, like Snoop Dogg say, back up off it and kind of put your cup down because you didn't gave too much water now. So yeah, I think that's the biggest cardinal sin that most beginners start with is just they want it. Oh, you need some more water. You need some more water. No, you're actually killing those roots because there's no oxygen in it. They need oxygen to breathe, just like your
You're
plants
drowning
outside
it.
the
You're
garden.
drowning the plant.
You're waterboarding it. Yeah.
Waterboarding it daily. All right,
But
Jack, what do you think is the number one mistake people are making with their houseplants? Why can't people get houseplants to grow?
So I think because overwatering is the easiest one and the most one. So since that one was already said, I was like, dang it, what am I going to say now? When it comes to that, I think it's people not putting their right plant in the right space. So what do I mean by that? You go to your bathroom and you have a vision of putting beautiful houseplants all in your bathroom because one of them Pinterest pirates done told you that you put the plants in there and the humidity, light, and everything else will just be so good. Your bathroom has absolutely no outdoor light. The only lights in there are the ones you flick on and off. When you leave that bathroom after brushing your teeth and hopefully washing your hands, you cut that light off and leave the plant in the dark. And unfortunately, it's not like Buzz Lightyear, right? You're not going to have a friend in that plant after leaving it in the dark. And your story is not going to be a toy, but it's going to be atrocious. So what ends up happening? I try to tell people, think about what this plant actually needs to survive. Make sure you're putting it, if you if it wants bright direct light, in an area that has bright direct light. Make sure you're not overwatering your succulents and those plants that don't want to be overwatered because why are you doing that? And I have to tell myself this because I overwater. I love to water. That's why I grow a lot of orchids, or not orchids, aeroids, because I can water them and I have other stuff set up so I can water almost weekly, right? Because that makes me feel good. But if I didn't do all this fancy setup I did, I wouldn't have to. But that's the biggest thing. People putting plants in the wrong spots.
Right.
You are taking a
And
plant and you're
it's
trying to
funny too
force it.
because not only are you drowning the plant, but once someone mentioned before the problem with fungus gnats. And that's another issue that you're going to have if you're overwatering, especially if you're watering from above. Someone else mentioned water from below. So what are your ultimate secrets for getting rid of fungus gnats? What's that?
It's it's like I was already ready. I'm glad I had this sitting in front of me. These are mosquito bits, or you can get mosquito dunks. Now, those of you who like the bottom water, I love that for you. I do it in the aquariums I grow in, but I love the top water because it makes me feel good. So these have something in them called Bacillus thuringiensis. Those of you at home, you can say it with me. Bacillus thuringiensis. It's not that hard, right? And it's BT, if you don't want to say and spell all of that, right? In the age of voice to text, it'll pick it up on the Google. But these little things here, you take a heaping tablespoon for every gallon of water, tepid water, not super hot, not super cold, hopefully distilled water, water where it doesn't have a lot of chlorine content. If you're using city water, I usually just heat my water up because chlorine will evaporate out, right? And they clear out your water systems with a chlorine or chlorine-like substance, depending on what time of year it is and where you are in the world. But I put that in, I let it sit overnight, right? And I can have a mosquito dunk in one of them that I will let sit overnight. And at any time, I will have 5 gallons of this water that is ready, treated with a mosquito dunk or mosquito bits. And that way, as I'm watering, we're good. Now, I know one person is like, hey, it stinks. It's in this container here. I put it in. I never smell a thing. Don't smell a mumbling thing, because I have these gigantic containers you can get from your Home Depot or your Lowe's. This is where, they put the water cooler in. I got these from the dump. You can probably just take them and walk off. If you do that, and they come after you, don't tell them I sent you. But that is the best way of getting and keeping the gnats down, because you're killing the larvae off. You're interrupting the life cycle. And because you're interrupting that life cycle at the stage where they're reproducing, Bob's your uncle, you're good.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
In my office, I have a grow tent, and I grow stuff in there, and sometimes a little extra water gets in there, and I occasionally get gnats, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to have gnats in your office. But I'm thinking I'm going to try that mosquito dunk. What I've been using, and it actually works really well too, is hydrogen peroxide in a spray bottle, and I just spray that on the soil or on the plant, and pretty much it kills the gnats pretty quickly. But I'm not sure if it interrupts the whole life cycle the way that this would.
So if you're using peroxide as a spray, it's
I'll make
soft
50-50, so it's like 1.5% by the time I'm done.
Yeah. Even if you, so I've done more peroxide than most people should, because don't tell nobody, y'all, this is just between us two, because they can't hear us. I have like 30% peroxide hiding in this house. Don't tell nobody, because if you have as much fertilizer as I do in the house and peroxide, you're on a list. And I'm sure I'm on it, because you literally can make booms out of this type of stuff.
But that's not this podcast. We don't talk about that. No, that's hypothetically.
Hypothetical. You shouldn't get the 33%. Don't order it often. I only order it every so often, but it works. And you can still hit like the top 2% using that 1.5 or 3% peroxide, that top 2 inches of layer of soil, and this should still help. But this is something where I don't have to worry about sensitive plants. Because some of my plants are like peroxide, and then they just
30% straight?
No, 3 or 1.5 or 3. The most I've ever done straight is 8%, but that's a longer story than I care to tell right now. Just ignore that you heard that.
Now, we were talking earlier about location. And for instance, you were talking about the restroom, right? And I'm bringing you guys, we're taking another field trip into my master bath. And this is my master bath. And I'm going to go ahead and swing my camera around, because we're going to talk about the plants that we have here around the master bathtub.
Ooh.
And now the plants that I have here, but I want you to key in on this thing right here. You see my reflection? That's because I have a frosted glass window back here. This frosted glass window allows for bright indirect light to come through this restroom. So like I told you, I have plants everywhere, but getting that bright indirect light, we have snake plants thriving. We have our dumb cane doing its thing. Money tree, ferns, Monstera stanleyana, our begonia rex, of course, another snake plant, and then even aloe veras, because of all that bright indirect light. So when I leave out of here and I turn the lights off, in the daytime, they're still getting that bright indirect light that comes through that frosted glass window. So if you want to go restrooms, you can do it, but you have to make sure you have that adequate light, or you get you some kind of clip-on grow lights or something like that.
Yeah, that is weird. I am jealous of y'all, I tell you.
Now, someone asked a quick question. They asked, what about deep watering in a 5-gallon bucket? I'm not sure what they mean by that.
So, do you know what they're talking about, Gray?
I think they're mentioning of like dunking their plants.
Yeah.
So when you take and you dunk your plant and you push all the air out, hold it under like you're a hitman and you're trying to push somebody under the water, let all the bubbles come up, and then take that. I do that, but only in rare circumstances. Like, for instance, last week I picked up a couple of plants that were dying from my wife's school. Students had left them behind, And I will do, because I mean, they hadn't had any water. The soil had gone hydrophobic.
Oh God.
So it wasn't even able to retain water. So what I did is give them a nice good dunk and kind of revitalize them. But that's really the only time I do the deep water. What about you?
I used to, but I'm lazy now. So I just make all my mixes where they don't get hydrophobic.
So what do
Now,
you
do you
do to
not
make sure
do
they don't get hydrophobic?
You want me to tell all my secrets, Andre? Okay.
That's what you're
This
here
all my
for.
secrets,
That's
all
what
my
you're here
secrets
for.
out to the public. We didn't discuss this. Everybody signed NDAs right now. When it comes to my mixes, because I make them by hand and I'm recycling soil, there's always some amount of like play sand in my soil, some amount of vermiculite or perlite in my soil, or bark. So something that provides a space or an escape for that soil. Additionally, my mixes now at some point will be a certain amount of like peat and core because I've used both and I've bought both. So between that, compost, I've bought other organic material that's kind of like not making it just a straight peat mix. It makes it where my plants never get to that point of being like super dried out. Like even when they're super bone dry, and I'm trying to think if there's anyone beside me that I haven't watered in a while, like this one. This, it looks rough. Don't judge me. This is my ZZ, Zammiculus zamifolia, and I put it in this here pot, and I haven't watered this one in a month of Sundays, and it's looking pretty good. I may have actually, I think I'm lying. I think I watered this in last week, but the soil is always pretty chill because of all this random organic material in it. Whoops! Like the organic material I just knocked on the floor.
It actually looks really good. It actually
Thank
looks really
you.
good. Yeah. So someone asked about growing cabbage inside, like as a house plant. I've grown it in hydroponics, but I've grown it with grow lights.
And I have done it before as well, but I have a very big, in this plant room that we're talking in right now, I have a very big sliding door sunglass window, so I can get those 6 to 8 hours, the cabbage is going to need for that direct sunlight in this room that I'm in. But that's when I've done it, and I've done that over like it was like maybe 3 years ago that I did it, and it formed real well. It had a really nice tight head of cabbage on.
Hmm.
But it was a lot of work to maintain it indoors. So I was like, while it can be done, it's not really practical.
Okay. Yeah. In my grow tent with the hydroponics, it just didn't have enough space, so it got kind of overcrowded. You gotta need some space for cabbage. So they kind of take up a lot of space. They get kind of big. Someone else, the house we just bought has great pots, but at the bottom of the dirt, they have packing peanuts. Is that a bad idea? I've never heard of that before.
I hate it. I've seen it before. There's a pot I have over here in the corner that's growing a cola acacia. It used to have this beautiful banana that was like touching on the ceiling, and then I got spider mites, and that was a very sad time. Lost that whole banana I was growing for a couple of years, and it was like 20 years old before I got it. It's a very sad story. We're gonna keep going. So when it came to me like digging that pot up and putting it in that pot, there were a lot of rocks and packing peanuts at the bottom, and some people will do that to just take up space. It's just a cheap way to take up space, so you don't have to buy a bunch of soil, but you already got packing peanuts. But now, because a lot of the packing peanuts some of us get are compostable, if you water them, it just melt. Or almost knock some more stuff over. They just melt. And because they melt, it ends up being a mess. It's something you could do. People have done broken terracotta. People have done like wood or sticks, bricks, something just to take up that space. Or put like a false bottom in. So you put like a false bottom in so you can only do like so much space. And I lived with a woman who used to use glass. So there's a lot of things you could use. I wouldn't say
Yeah.
do
Wow.
glass, but I lived with a woman that did.
But I will say this though, be careful with it because that's actually one of the plant hacks that I kind of talked about a couple of
Mm.
months ago. When you're adding like those rocks and such at the bottom of your soil line, you're creating a perched water table. So if you have your pot and you are putting rocks, let's say you're putting rocks up to here, and then your soil line starts here, you think, oh yeah, what's going to happen is the water's going to pass out. It's going to make it so easy to drain. It's like I'm creating a self-wicking pot. No, you're not. Because what's happening is because your rocks or whatever larger material you're using down there, it's raising essentially the bottom of your pot creating a perched water table up here at the top. And so you'll be more susceptible to root rot doing that. Because what happens is when that water is going through the loose soil and it's moving down, it gets to that larger particle, and you would think that it would easily just pass through. No, it actually slows it down and actually makes it harder for it to kind of pass through that different molecule
Now,
size.
would it be because what happens is all the soil goes into those micropores and it becomes almost like mortar in a brick wall, basically?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you just said it. That's perfect.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So just play it safe is all I'm saying.
All right. So what would you give, like what advice would you give? Like what's your hack? Like what's your secret to growing good houseplants? Because I don't grow a lot of houseplants. I've been gifted a couple houseplants that I have at the office, like a croton and
I hate
and the
those.
money tree.
Okay, money.
And the money tree, I've bonsai'd it, and I think it looks pretty cool. But the croton is dying.
That's because they're evil plants. That's why I hate those. But keep going.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a whole list of plants that I call junk plants.
Not junk plant.
And crotons are one of them. I think I'm not entirely sure what a begonia looks like, but I think begonias are one.
He just showed us.
This is the begonia right here.
No, not
Begonias.
begonias. They're not begonias. Not begonias. There's one of those flower ones with those soft-looking flowers on it. They're like really like floppy little flowers, and people have them. They're annuals, I think.
We talking about
That
pansies?
one, not daisies. No, it's
Pansies.
like what's that? Petunias, maybe.
Petunias.
Are they
Okay, I thought you were talking about pansies.
Petunias? I don't know. They might not be petunias.
I wish I could show us on the camera. We're gonna talk online on this because I want to know. Because I was thinking either petunias
And
would
also
probably
those ones that change color. They're blue or they can be a pink
snapdragons
based on
oh, you're talking about hydrangeas.
Hydrangeas.
hydrangeas. I don't know. People like those those flowers.
How are you in the South and you don't like hydrangeas?
They just look like junk flowers to me. They look like trash flowers.
They are a Southern staple. My God. You should be glad I don't live in Florida because if I did, I'd be planting. Tomorrow night, you'd wake up with 30 hydrangeas all over your property. You'd be like, who did this? And it would be me. Me.
And I love hydrangeas because my kids and I, back on May 4th, we actually planted some hydrangeas with our raspberries because we're going to use them as a soil color indicator to show whether or not the soil is acidic or not. Because if with a hydrangea, if the soil is, now depending on which hydrangea you get, we went with a Nico blue. If it's acidic enough, it will be a blue flower. If it's not acidic enough, it'll go more to the pink side. So we're going to use it as a color indicator, and plus to further educate the kids on soil pH. But we love our hydrangeas out here.
I love that. Speaking of soil pH, I got something to tell y'all after this. Y'all remind me in a text message. I can't announce it here, but I got a question to ask y'all.
Oh,
Okay.
It's about pH in a product or something. I'm not going to
well,
announce
since
it. Let's keep going.
pH, how much do you have to worry about pH of your houseplant soil? Like, should you be measuring that?
I really don't. I don't.
You know,
I'm going to start doing it because of a video I'm going to release tomorrow and a video I posted on my YouTube, where I guess I'm going to talk about it now. I have a grow line meter from Hannah Instruments where you can basically measure your soil's ECPH and total dissolved salts all in one meter. And while most houseplant people don't need to measure that, it's just a good thing to know. So if you're trying to figure out what's going wrong, then you can figure it out. Most of these regular fertilizers we get though, like that typical people would use, that stuff, that little blocks of blue miracle powder, any of the liquids, any of the granulars are generally foolproof so long as you follow what they say on the box, or you don't go too crazy, you're good. But yeah, generally you wouldn't have to worry.
okay,
Yeah.
because I got one of those meters as well recently, and I went and I measured the pH in my watermelon bed, and my strawberry bed, and my blueberry pots, and I've been putting acidifier in there. I've been putting the baritone. I put pine needles. I'm thinking, oh, we're like way down. We're like a 5.5. That thing was like a 7.5. I was like, what? I'm like, how was it a 7.5 still?
Well, and
Really?
see, I'm glad you mentioned that because the pine needles, the baritone, all of those things, while they are supplemental, they can be used in a quick fix, they don't maintain. you have to go with like an azalea blend mix, which is usually composed of like your pine bark. Because think about it, your pine bark is going to break down over time and keep that soil more acidic. By using the pine needles, they just don't break down fast enough to acidify, or even the baritone. It kind of leaches away, almost like how we leach away with nitrogen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you would need something more like agricultural grade if you're trying to really get like a good drastic shock. But for outdoors, and you can do this indoors too, party people, you can do a soil test. Like you can go to Cooperative Extension and request a soil test for your outdoor beds or whatever. You can do the same thing for your indoor beds. There's nobody stopping you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's
And
And
that's
they
usually
do
not
stuff
that
for free,
expensive.
right?
in most areas, yes, not everywhere, and not all of them are consistent throughout the year unless you know somebody.
Yeah, I know here in Texas because being a Texas Master Gardener, our ag extension with Texas A&M, it's about $25
That's
as a
not bad.
baseline,
Hmm.
and then it does go up if depending on what you because they can test even more things, and essentially that $25 fee is essentially just it's paying for your lab services because they run it through a lab and everything, and they can give you the bare minimum, your NPK and your
Hmm.
acidity or alkalinity, or they can take it up a notch and then they tell you exactly what you need to put in your whole entire yard depending on what you
Yeah,
request.
and
That's here in Texas.
$25 is not bad. $25
No.
isn't bad at all because, like, industrially, these processes can be thousands of dollars, like hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on what you're looking for and how quickly you want it back. So, with how quickly most extension offices get them back to you, that's like a low price.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
question here.
Hmm.
How about hummus and mushrooms? I'm not sure what the question is. Humus?
Are
I
they,
think they're talking about soil acidity still.
yeah, soil, hummus, or mushroom compost, or using mushrooms?
I would say yes on
Um,
the hummus.
I don't know the pH of
Is it hummus or
mushroom compost.
humus?
I think it's hummus. They just didn't they didn't put the second. I feel like it's supposed to be two M's, but I can't
Because
remember. But
hummus is like what you eat.
So
yeah,
maybe it's humus. I
no,
don't
no,
know.
it's you have the hummus you eat, and then you have the hummus you put in your soil.
Mhm.
So there's two
Oh,
types of hummus. You just one you eat and one you don't eat. I don't eat either, to be honest. But if that's something you eat, one of them, as long as you eat the edible one, hey, that's up to you. But for soil pH, there's a lot of cool things you can do. Coffee grounds is one that just doesn't work. I will tell people that. But I will typically say get a soil test and look to see what your soil actually needs. For houseplants, again, if you're using a typical fertilizer and you're not using a bunch of amendments, you're typically in the clear. You typically don't have many worries.
Yeah.
Now, peat moss is one of those things that I believe can acidify. It can add more
Slightly.
organic matter, definitely. But the problem with peat moss is not sustainably sourced. So I believe that's the biggest issue with peat moss that people have. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, I don't know. I think this might be a situation where, I mean, yeah, it's not sustainably sourced, but I originally come from Louisiana where we have all these swamps and bogs and so forth. And I feel like they're not hurting anything. But that's just my opinion on the matter. But again, that's just my opinion. But do I go out and run and buy as much peat as I possibly can? Not really, because a lot of times I'll use like sphagnum moss or Spanish moss or something like that if I'm looking for something to add that organic material, specifically in a plant that I know drinks a lot. So it's not that I'm contributing to it. I just really don't have a big opinion on it. That's me, though. That's me, preference.
Well, I
Mm.
feel like with any sort of global or environmental issue, like no one person is going to make a difference causing it. But if we all sort of like have the attitude of, well, I'm going to just, I'm not going to pay attention to it because I'm not going to cause it myself, then we're going to all collectively cause it. But from my understanding, people get really worked up about it. They say it's really, really bad for the environment. And peat moss apparently takes like 1,000 years to make, and we just friggin' go through it like nothing. And I just have a huge bag of it back there that I can't just throw away. So I gotta finish the bag, but I'm not gonna buy it anymore. I don't think. Um,
I will say one more thing. I will just say one more thing. Based off of that logic, the same thing about oil. It takes millions of years to make oil, and we do the same exact thing with oil that we pull from the soil, too.
We
I don't know if
do.
it's destroying as much habitat per se as peat moss apparently is, from what I understand. And there are some fruit that are, I think, are low hanging fruit, and there are some fruit that are much, much higher.
Yeah.
And I think that oil is way up there. How are they going to reach oil? But we could probably reach peat moss.
So both of them, I've heard both arguments because I've met soil producers who were cocoa core heads, and they were like the peat bogs. They're this and that and the other because peat bogs, for those of you who don't know, they are not only takes a long, long time to produce, but they also sequester or trap carbon. So it's amazing when we mention oil because when we're taking those peat bogs and we're disturbing them, we're literally helping to contribute and fight, like not fight, help, assist. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Climate change in a very negative way.
Okay.
But cocoa core or slash and burn plantations is also terrible because then they're deforesting areas to throw up all these cocoa bogs, and that waste is being reused, but it's also not beneficial to the environment either. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. So what I typically tell people is, whatever you buy, just don't throw anything away. Just compost it, unless it was like it had the worst disease ever, an insect problem. Okay, we'll discard of that properly. But outside of that, just recycle, which is why again why all of my soil looks good and my plants look good because I'm recycling soil often.
You know what? I have to say, Derek, thank you for explaining it that way because I didn't factor that in. I didn't factor in the ecological effect of it, and you just converted me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you for that.
Okay, it's just meeting people. I met some cool people, and I told them what I hear, and I'm always asking people questions. Some people think I'm doing it just to be silly, but I'm like, tell me stuff. And I sat with some people of good dirt here in Raleigh, and we had a conversation about it. I sat with some other people about slash and burn plantations, and they had a conversation. So it's like Pete slash everybody's yelling, but it's like just recycle your soil.
But I think the good thing, and Andre, I think you might agree to this as well. The good thing is that when you come to somebody who has a difference of opinion and you can sit there and be receptive to what they're saying, it's okay to have a disagreement because you know what? You're still having a conversation, and I just learned something today. So I appreciate you both for that. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So someone asked have any of you guys tried to grow chickpeas?
No.
Chickpeas? No, I don't care for chickpeas. I know being the resident vegetarian, like, oh, you should like everything. No, I don't care for the taste, no matter how they're ground up. No, what I don't really care for chickpeas. Just like I'm gonna say this, and I might lose my black card on this one, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Black-eyed peas. I cannot stand black-eyed peas.
Wait a minute, you can't stand. Oh my God, I'm sorry. You pause 1 second. Andre, do you eat black-eyed peas?
But peas are just peas. Like, how do you not like a pea? They're all friggin' the same. They're just peas. You put them in rice and you're good.
No, I'm talking about black-eyed peas.
I feel like they taste the same as other peas when they're in rice.
I don't think we have to clip this. We have to clip this moment because I
like there's no peas that I don't like. Like peas are just peas. They're all the same.
Not the green peas. Black-eyed peas.
No,
are like
not green. Not green peas. Those are disgusting.
Yeah.
Forget about those. I mean, like hard peas that you boil.
Yes.
And
Okay. Stuff. Yes. We're on the same page here. I was like, my God. I was like, as a resident Southerner, I am about to have a connection because I did not know you as a vegetarian. I'm already like, what you mean you're a vegetarian? And then I'm like, you don't like black-eyed peas.
And you don't like chickpeas either.
And see, chickpeas, okay, I'm like, okay, throw them away. We don't need them. The part of the
Caribbean, so I like chickpeas because we gotta eat like doubles and roti and stuff like that. So you gotta have chickpeas. You gotta have chana. You gotta have it. That's a must for me.
See, I'm glad you say that.
See, I think, and I'm going to share it with y'all some childhood trauma because I grew up in a Southern house, and my mama cooked something. You're gonna sit at that table and you're gonna eat it whether you want to or not. And it was one of them days she had a big old plate of black-eyed peas, and she was like, "Boy, you better eat them peas." And I did not want to. And I sat at that table all night, and I have been scarred and traumatized. So I keep that memory, and I'm like, man, forget black-eyed peas.
I need you to go and hug your mama. I need you just to go and hug your mama and let that go, because this don't even make sense. Granted, I am the person that also traumatizes my family now because I'm now the person y'all need me. I now going to do to you what you did to me. But that is wild. No chickpeas. Okay. All right.
All right. Someone had a question there. Recycle soil, meaning mix compost into old soil?
Yes. So when you're recycling soil, what I've done is around me, and if the other bedroom wasn't so junky, I would show you my setup. Um, but this house is always in various stages of not clean. When it comes to the setup, it's basically I keep all of my soil in a container, a trash can, a barrel, or something. And then when I need it, I'll do one of two things. I'll either add compost to it if I haven't already. In previous episodes on the podcast, I've talked about bokashi composting. I'll take my bokashi, mix it into the soil, let it sit. I have earthworms that are in the soil, mix it in. I do a video where I talked recently about like bagging up soil for a conference I'm going to, and I just go from what I know. I let that go in. So again, old soil, you could either have the compost just sitting in it and then just let it sit and just thrive, or as you're reviving your soil, you add new compost in, you add a little slow release fertilizer, you get it a good mix, add in any bark or sand, anything you might need, and then use it for your plants.
Let me just take a quick second, guys. I want to just mention our sponsors again. Great. Could you mention the sponsor you have right there?
Retain, for retaining your tools. It cleans, it lubes, it stops rust, and it sanitizes your tool. When you are cleaning up your tools, when you are making your cuttings for your propagations, like for instance, let's say you are propagating your begonia and you want to make a second begonia, make sure you clean your pruners after you make your cuts. To retain those tools.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I need it for when I'm doing air layering and grafting. You know, a lot of times I'm grafting, and sometimes you might not think it, but when your graft fails, you did everything right. It might just be that you had too much contamination. There was too much bacteria in there, whatever the case may be. Having clean tools really helps the success rate of your grafts. And our other sponsor is Sonia's Bug Spray. And when I tell you I use this thing, I'm not kidding. I'm going to Dominica. That's why I got a whole new bottle to bring with me to Dominica, because this stuff, it feels like lotion. You can put this on in the morning just to put on. You don't need it bugs to be around. You can just wear it like it's lotion. It smells like lemongrass. It's amazing. And of course, my Andrethefarmer sweet and spicy pepper sauce. You can get it on Amazon now. I guarantee you'll love it. It's all natural and made with 9 different fruits and vegetables. This is the sauce you're going to put on every single thing you eat going forward. All right? So,
Including black eyed peas. We can
including
put it on our
your
black
black
eyed
eyed peas.
peas.
You know, I think
Including your
Ray would
black
like
eyed
black eyed
peas.
peas if he had some pepper sauce on it. I think he would be down with
He
it.
would eat it. This is
I
great.
just might. Because I see the comments. The comments are lighting up. Everybody's trying to give me recommendations for my black eyed
They
peas.
They are giving you full recipes down here. This, this is
I
great.
love it. I love it.
All right. So let's back to the house plants there. What is the most exotic house plant that you've tried to grow or that you're growing? Like what is your prize house plant? Your thing that if this was someone broke in and stole this plant, it's a problem.
So while Derek is going away, I'm going to show my Monstera Esqueleto. This one is my favorite right now. Oh, wait, look, I took a trip this weekend, and she has not only got one new leaf, but a second one coming right there.
Oh
This one,
my goodness.
yeah. I know it's crazy, but I love when they get new leaves. And look at that, she's already forming nodes so that I can actually propagate her and make a whole new plant, because that's the way. Guys, I'm going to share with you my plant obsession. The way I justify it to my wife, it's like, no, babe, look, I can propagate this and I can sell this plant to make money. And she's like, oh, okay, so that's my
Justification.
justification. Thank you for that. My justification whenever I'm bringing a new plant love into the house, and that usually gives me the green light to bring in more. But my favorite is the Esqueleto.
Esqueleto. Now, how much would a plant like that go for in a store?
Now, usually, they used to be very expensive. The Monstera Esqueleto, because of the fenestrations, and a lot of the plant hoarders were kind of holding on to this plant and making it harder to people come by some of these rare plants. But a company that should be the sponsor of ours is Costa Farms. Costa Farms now sell this plant for $80 on their website. And
$80?
it used to be way expensive, more expensive than that. But usually they do have discount codes on their website. I actually got it for 60 when it was on sale. So it was $10 off, and then I got another $10 off. So I actually bought it for 60. But again, look at those nodes. So like I explained to my wife, I can propagate this, maybe sell it, and recoup some of that money.
All right. Derek, what's your prize plan? Oh, he's
I have
excited.
several. I wanted to show off. So this is Philodendron squaniferum, and this plant I got from Gunter's Greenhouse in Durham. And you can see these very hairy, as they call them, hirsute, I think is the term, petioles. Trying to get it like right in the camera.
Oh, yeah.
But
Okay.
you can see here, very just sexy babies. And this one is kind of dry. I need to water this one up. But it was $20. It's pretty chill. It's a slow grower. It's growing a little bit faster for me now, but it's a very slow grow. The next one used to be super expensive before tissue culture came through and made it where they can actually propagate this. This is where a lot of houseplants prices have dropped because of tissue culture. Because now you can actually make clones of an exact representative plant for the most part, and then you can make 1,000 clones in a couple of months and then get them out, whereas cuttings take a while and there's kind of like a little difference. This here looks a little gnarled because again it's a little dry soil. This is my philodendron or monstera Thai constellation. I got this from somewhere. I took a cutting off of it, and I don't have anybody here that I live with, so I just tell myself we're going to cut these plants and sell them, and I never do. And I just lie to myself, and I do it, and I love it. And then this one, I had lusted after one of these for years. For years. This is Philodendron Strawberry Shake. And this beautiful reddish, like, it's not like a pink princess. This was $58. It was a little bit smaller than this. Got it at the Southeast Plant Show in the Atlanta area last year. And I've been trying to really give it some more love so it can go up and do what I needed to do. So that's a couple of the many beautifully like babies I got in here that either I bought or somebody gave me.
So let me ask you a question. Is the philodendron a type of monstera?
A philodendron is a relative to the monstera. So
I thought you
Yep.
said one of those plants like that constellation was, I think you said it was a philodendron, and then you said it was a monstera.
I had misspoke. I meant to say
Oh, okay.
I meant to say Monstera Thai constellation. So philodendron, Monstera, pothos, Rhyodoptera, peace lilies, which I can't remember their names, and the other one I hate. What is the name of that other one I hate? Arthurium. There we go. All of those are in the aroid family, and Syngoniums. All of those are in the aroid family, Araceae. So they're all related.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So,
Interesting.
yeah, so they break down in genealogy and so forth. But yeah, they're still related.
Oh, gotcha.
Can I show
Yeah,
one quick plant before we go to that question? Now, this one isn't my favorite. I love it, but it isn't my favorite. It's my son's favorite. And this is Harmony's Bloody Valentine begonia. Check out that foliage. Check out this color.
That is beautiful.
And this is my 6-year-old son's begonia. He wanted something.
Cool.
I went to Orlando for PlantCon, and he said, "Dad, bring me back something red. I want a red plant." And this is what I came back with. He's 6 years old. He's a boy, and he said he wants something creepy and red. And I was like, "Hey, Bloody Valentine. You can't get creepy any more creepier and redder than that." So I just want to show off. So
is he keeping that alive? Is he watering that?
I assist him.
Okay,
He forgets sometimes, so I assist him.
because I was about to say all my begonias died. So if a child is doing better than me, I am going to knock everything in here over.
So JL said people confuse monsteras and philodendrons all the time. Yeah, I have big philodendrons that are growing around my fire pit, and I also have 2 monstera deliciosas that are separate. And actually, the one that was super yellow is looking better now, and the one that regrew that got cut off, it's getting yellowy now.
Really?
But it's growing, but it's getting yellowy. I gotta feed it or something. But someone else asked a question. The question was, how do you know whether a plant that's indoors can be outdoors?
Now, for me, it's gonna truly just depend on your growing environment, your zone, your climate, what is it like outside. So for instance, I love the tropicals, right? Well, I live in Dallas. So all these tropicals that grow, all those monsteras that we talked about before, they can't survive my winters out here in Dallas. So I don't even give it a shot. I keep them in the pots. I bring the pots outside. Plus, they don't like a lot of direct bright sunlight to burn those leaves. So you really have to know your environment and what kind of sun and temperature situation would be ideal for those plants. So it really is going to take a little bit of legwork and researching, but I'm pretty sure if you DM Derek or you DM Urban Gardening with Gray, we'll definitely always help you out with that.
Yeah, exactly. I used to take all my plants outdoors, especially for the spring and summer here in Carolina, Zone 8, formerly Zone 7. And I don't do that anymore because I have too many indoor-outdoor plants. Like I have too many of both, so there's no room to switch them around. I can't do it. So with that being said, I just leave them in. But it's knowing what you have and what it can take, what environment does it typically grow in, where it's from, and then does your environment at that time match? And then are you also willing to risk random insects coming in? A lot of people will do this outside and then be like, well, how do I keep the insects from coming in? And I'm like, yeah, that's like you call Dr. Doolittle and tell him not to come. Like, I don't have a good answer for you. I never have a good answer.
They live out there. They live out there.
They live out there, and you take your pot out there, and it's a new high rise. And the Jeffersons moved on up, and the insects are going to move on up into the pot you brought outside. That's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, JL, almost every plant would rather be outside than inside if the weather's right. Yeah, if the climate is right. If the climate is right, then yes. One of the plants that I didn't realize was such a good outdoor plant that we used to have at my old house as an indoor plant is a fiddle leaf fig. They grow into monster trees here outside.
I can only imagine. I hate those things.
I was looking at your face, man. I was like,
You hate them? Why do you hate them?
I hate all ficus except for the ones we actually eat the figs off of because they're so freaking temperamental. I have a ficus umbellata in this house, and I keep it in a corner. I can't move it because if I move it, it immediately drops leaves. I can move it 2 feet from where it is, and the next day it'll drop leaves, and I'm not even being dramatic. It's so freaking dramatic. It is just a terrible thing, and I didn't even buy this. My sister bought it, and I told her not to, and then it was dying at her house, and then I brought it over here, and it's been over here for 3 years. This has been 3 years.
And it's holding you hostage.
Adopted.
It is.
Hostage.
And I could never move because as soon as I take it outside, it's just going to die. That's what's going to happen.
I dare you to move me.
That's exactly what it's saying.
All right. Someone asks, which plants that oxygenate that good for 70 to 80% of apartment? I don't know what the English is going on there, but
they're asking about increasing the oxygen and like filtering out the air of their house with house plants to 70 or 80%. I've seen it, and I'm gonna let y'all.
70, 80% of what?
Like getting a very clean. They're basically saying what plants can really clean my air in my house. So I'm gonna let y'all answer.
But is there?
I'm gonna come in.
But the 70, 80. What I don't get is the 70, 80%.
I
what
put
does that
that
even
to the
mean?
side because I've had similar type of questions. So they're like, there's some people who are like, I'm trying to get a certain air rate or a certain clean rate of clean air in my house. And this
70, 80%
that 70, 80%, or is that temperature? Okay, because I was about to say, if you're talking about air, I've seen it where people are like, I'm trying to get my air super clean. If you're doing temperature or warm, most houseplants want 70, 80%. If you're talking about cleaning the air of your house, beloved, I'm going to hold your hand when I say this. No plants are going to clean the air of your house discernibly that you would notice. And this comes from a study that people misquote from NASA, where they had a list of plants they used to clean air because they were trying to basically figure out how to filter air on like spaceships and rocket ships and people in space. The thing is that people don't ever mention when they talk about this is they were doing this in a chamber that's sealed off from the world. Your house, when you close your doors, still has air filtering through. There's no way to do that discernibly. Like they were just trying to like filter off some things. So there's not any plants that will do that for you. But if you're like trying to find things that are loving 70 to 80%, majority of the house plants you get are going to want 70, like really all of them are going to want that temperature.
Yeah.
Some just have various levels of humidity that they want.
Yeah, 70, 80 degrees. And even that study that you were referring to was back from like 1986. And I want to say that NASA actually came back and even debunked it and said that no, it wasn't, it's like when people ask me about mosquitoes, right? Like, what plants can I plant to get rid of all the mosquitoes in your yard? I was like, there's not enough. You would have to have like a whole entire jungle of lemongrass, citronella, and just everything, because guess what? They live out there, so you're not going to plant enough plants. Same with the oxygen. I have plants in this jungle room. I have a bunch in here, but are they clean? A HEPA filter would clean the air better than my plants ever could. So if that's what you're looking to achieve, just get a HEPA filter. It's way easier.
You're not staying in like 100% oxygen room right now.
Right. I'd probably pass out if I had 100% oxygen. See, that's why everybody always talks about I'm so happy on my videos. That's why I'm so happy I have 100% oxygen.
He's high on
oxygen. He is lit right now. He's about to float away.
Well, guys, that's all the time we have for this week. I'd like to thank our sponsors one more time. Andrethefarmer Sweet and Spicy Pepper Sauce. You can get on Amazon. You can also get on my website, andrethefarmer.com. And Sonia's Bug Spray. You can get it at soniasbugspray.com. The best bug spray in the world. And retain.
Clean those tools.
Make sure you clean those tools, disinfect them, and lubricate them all at once. All right? Thanks, guys. Great show. Any last words?
It's been fantastic talking to you guys as always. Talk to you again real soon.
I see. Amen. Exactly. I was reading one of the comments. I agree. Ditto.
All right. All right, guys. Take care. Thanks for watching, guys. You can see the replays on my Instagram, on everyone's Instagram. You can also see them on YouTube, on my YouTube. All right? It's andrethefarmer.com. Or Andrethefarmer on YouTube. All right. See you guys. Bye. How do you get off this?